Alrighty, welcome to Romera Records virtual cast. Today we have on Pat. How's it going, Pat?
Dude, great. Thank you for having me on. Excited to talk with you.
Awesome. So yeah, you do some comedy. Is that right?
I do a little bit of all sorts of comedy. I don't
Okay,
really have an exact lane, but yes, comedy would be my focus.
got you. All right. So is there like a certain thing that really got you into comedy? Is it just like oh, it's just something I always wanted to do, or is it like you saw somebody? Like what made you do it?
Yeah, so I was always kind of a goofy kid in high school. Never really thought like everybody in high school, you always think you just go to college, you get a degree, and then you go work a 9 to 5.
Yeah,
Never thought that there would be an actual career where I could, entertain people, make
yeah,
people
yeah.
laugh. So that kind of started in high school a little bit. Um, I went to the Second City Training Center when I was in like sophomore year of high school. And so like got to take some improv classes, mess around. And it was completely different because I was only used to like going to basketball practice or going to baseball. And so then you just eventually feel like, the 9 to 5 isn't for me. Being in an office isn't for me. But making people laugh is real fun.
It is. I mean, just being able to, I guess, see somebody like we pretty much base our level of fun off of like did I laugh? I mean that's
Hands
pretty much
down.
it. So I mean, is there a certain type of comedy that you value? Like they say somebody might have like dry humor or something like that. Like what do you think is your thing?
Mine would be self-deprecating.
Okay.
Um, so that's like making fun of myself, you
Oh,
know.
okay.
So, but all this talk about, you got to start talking to yourself positively, trying to get away from being so self-deprecating. The more I make fun of myself, the more I'm just thinking, "Oh man, maybe you are an idiot," you know?
That's hilarious. So do
But yeah.
you do like I mean is it just like a more modern, people talk about like a modern comedy where we got skits now, everybody does stuff on like TikTok or
Right.
Instagram and stuff like that. Do you do a lot of that?
I do a little bit of that. So I'm focusing now, these last couple months, I've been focusing on script writing. So trying to produce like short sketches, like you said, or short films, just trying to get my portfolio of scripts to grow. And if those turn into productions and things that are actually filmed and that can go on a reel, perfect. If not, I just have a great and deep um, portfolio of writing samples.
Hmm. How hard is that for you? Like writing, does that seem like it comes natural, or do you have to like practice that?
At times, it feels like I chose the wrong career. But other times, it's like, oh my God, I might be one of the best writers in the world.
mm,
But those are so drastically far apart that you're like right in the middle. You're like, all right, maybe I'm good, maybe I'm okay. But like you'll have an hour. Well, I'll have like 45 minutes to an hour where I am just like cranking it out. I feel really good about what I'm typing and what I'm putting down on this piece of paper. And then 20 minutes later, I'm like, why do I do this to myself? Why do I sit behind this computer and try and write jokes? And then, you just like don't look at that for like a day or two, come back to it and be like, okay, it was pretty good, but now we know how to go from here, just to change of perspective.
yeah, I mean that's the worst part of being a creative is you're making something out of nothing, and then it's not like the audience is in the room with you while you're creating
Right.
to tell you, yeah, that's good, keep going. You just kind of you're guessing. You're guessing,
Right.
is this good, and then you're having to judge yourself.
Yeah, I know it's a huge guessing game. And the amount of times where I'm like, oh, I would love a writing partner to bounce this off of, or I might send this to somebody to get like any feedback possible. You're like, "Ah, they're gonna hate it. They're gonna think it's the worst thing." And then I'm gonna be like, why am I a writer? And
Yeah,
then you just gotta like fight that, because when you pick comedy as a career choice, you are gonna fail so many times. So beating that thought out of your head that, yeah, you probably are gonna write 1,000 terrible scripts for every good one. You
mm.
just kind of have to deal with it. You got to write every day, write a script, throw it out, rewrite it, and just do a bunch of dialogue and shit.
Do you have like a certain regiment, like when you write, like you like to do it in the morning, the afternoon, or you got to have your tea? Like,
Yeah.
what do you? How do you start your process?
So my process, I am a night owl.
Mm,
So once it gets dark, I feel like that's when I'm the most creative. I'm trying to teach myself to be a morning person, but right now it is a struggle. Like
mm.
getting up at 8 is like impossible right now, but I'll get there. But I'm up till like, 1 or 2 writing just like any idea that pops into my head, I'll put it down in my notes. And if I really feel something nice, I'll go out, grab my computer and just like type a bunch of stuff down and then look at it in the morning when I'm in a little clearer of a head.
Mm. I mean, I think that there's something about being able to just do it whenever you feel like it. Like some people, they can just like, I do music, so like some people can just do music whenever. Like
Right.
it's it's mind blowing. And then some people like have to be in a space. Like me, I can, I'm not going to say I can do it whenever, but like I will say there are times when I'm just not in the mood to do music.
Right.
It's like this. I feel like my brain has to be not relaxed, but not too relaxed. Because if I'm too relaxed, then I feel like I'm not going to be that creative.
Yeah.
But if my brain is like ramped up, then I'm thinking about too much other stuff to be focused on the one thing I need.
I know, and that sweet spot is so small. It's
Yeah.
so small, but once you hit it, once you're in that sweet spot, it feels like the most perfect choice you've ever made.
Absolutely. And to be able to like to understand that, like that self-awareness of,
Mhm.
oh, this is how I feel. Like some people that blows my mind. Like some people just don't know how they feel. Like
What? Yeah.
you can ask them like, how do you feel right now about doing this or doing that? And like, I don't know. Like, all right, that's that's how
Yeah,
some people live their lives.
yeah, it's crazy. When in doubt, I'm feeling great, just ready to rock, whatever you wanna do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get when people are like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm a pretty like yes or no type person. So when it comes to
Exactly.
that kind of stuff, I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
this is either good for me, like I'm in my space to be able to create stuff, or I'm not. And if you aren't in that space, I think like I was talking to one of my friends about making music, and I was like, dude, if you don't feel like writing at this time, just don't. Like because
Right,
it might mess up your material, and you like what you were talking about earlier. Like you might write something and then look back at it like, what was I doing?
right. Oh my god. Yeah, I can't tell you the amount of times I'll be like, if I'm just out and about, can't get to my computer to write something, I'll go into my notes and just write down an idea of something. And then I'll forget about it maybe like the next day or so. I'll look at the note and I'll try and read and I'm like, what were you thinking? What was the idea here? It's like I had one where it was just so outrageously broad. It was like, there's a dad and his son, and there's a tomato, and like I was like, what are you trying? I'm sure it made sense right at the time, but like now, future Pat is screwed. Like I
Uh-huh.
have no idea what you're trying to say.
So when you do write and you're thinking of things, is it something that you saw, like you were watching TV, like do you have these inspirational things, or is it like you're kind of looking around the room, like thinking of something? Like how does that work?
Yeah, I would say that I'm more of an experience writer.
Hmm.
So, like, if I experience something or like a story is told to me or someone I know experienced something, I can kind of vaguely make a funnier version of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I need some baseline of some idea to create a scene. But from that point on, it's all about just finding a joke, making it funny, and working with the area in which you set it
Hmm.
in.
I think some of the best jokes are stories,
Yeah.
and I really value story jokes because I am the worst storyteller.
Yeah.
I think I'm somewhat funny. Like I don't think I'm the funniest person, but I am terrible at telling stories. So if anything ever happens that I think is hilarious, I'm hoping somebody else was there so that they can tell the story because I suck at it. It's bad.
Yeah, I had a quick run with stand-up comedy,
Hmm.
and I couldn't figure out which, like, which kinda comic I wanted to be. If I wanted to be the storyteller, if I wanted to be the setup punchline, if I wanted to just be, like, the outrageous person. And, like, telling stories, you need to commit to, like, every detail, and, like, sometimes when I'm telling a story, I'm like, "Ah, this is too long." I'm like, "Nobody's paying attention. Everybody's zoned out. They hate me. They hate my story." And so, like, then I'll just put that in the scene. It's like, that's hilarious. If you just hear the inner voice of somebody while telling a story, that's also hilarious.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
And,
oh,
and just being able to like, I guess, set up the story, like the whole story. And then if you came to a certain point, you're like, yeah, they're not going to find this funny. And I was-
that's the everyday feeling when you cross that line of a story.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's why I value people who can tell great stories because it's
Yes.
like, dude, number one, you have to have good memory. Like a lot of times my memory sucks. So I'm just like, nah, that's another strike for not being a
Yeah.
good comedian. But
No, yeah, you lose all the details.
yeah, I mean, some of my favorite comedians like Dave Chappelle, like he
Yeah.
tells great stories. Like if you look at some of his like stand up specials,
Mhm.
like the funniest ones were like when he was telling a story.
Yeah, and he's comfortable with silence. Being
Yeah,
able to be
yeah.
comfortable in silence is one of the gifts I wish I had.
I think it's funny when I think he's done this before. Like he'll tell you something, and then like as you said, that silence, and he'll be like, "That's it. That's all I got. Like that's the story." And then that in itself is funny. So
Yeah, exactly, exactly. He sets it up so perfect, his delivery's spot on. It's crazy.
yeah, and to me like so I rap, and I think like rapping is very similar to comedy in the fact that like it all depends on your delivery. Like to me, I'm not a huge fan of like a lot of the rappers nowadays, but
Yeah,
um, to epitomize what they do, it doesn't matter what they're talking about. If
right.
it sounds good, then it's good, quote unquote.
Uh-huh.
So with comedy, like you could be talking about absolute nonsense, which to me is Seinfeld. Seinfeld's one of my favorite comedians. Like that
Yeah,
show is hilarious to me.
yeah,
But to some people, they might not find it funny. But to me, he's using the whole show is everyday like situations that they're just delivering to you in a premium way.
exactly,
So
yeah.
like, quote unquote, somebody was telling if you told somebody what happened on Seinfeld, they wouldn't find it funny.
No.
But watching it, it's as I said, the delivery of it is
Mhm.
spectacular. So it makes it funny.
Yeah, exactly, and there's so many shows like that, like, every sitcom pretty much. You can say a line from a show like those, and you could get a laugh, but exactly, those stories and the way they break it down character by character and all that kinda jazz. That's what makes it so hilarious, and that's what made everybody love those kinda shows like Seinfeld, The Office. I know there's a big cult following for liking and hating Friends, but Friends did that as well. So,
Is there
there's
is there a certain show that you like really appreciate because of the comedy?
there's a couple ones. So, New Girl, I'm a big fan of their comedy. Have you seen New Girl?
I haven't.
Yeah, so New Girl, is with Jake Johnson, Max Greenfield, Zoe Deschanel, and they have a very sitcom-esque show, and it's all about the character's delivery. So I try to write my goal is to write characters
Mm.
that are funny, so whatever they say is funny, if that makes sense. So the
Yeah.
way they've created themselves as characters in this universe, and when they get upset or they're happy, the way that they deliver a line is the comedy regardless of what they've said. And
Mm.
that's kind of the goal I go towards.
Yeah, those kind of characters are usually like the X factor in your show.
Yeah.
Like, I would say probably who's somebody like that. Oh, like Kramer, Kramer
Exactly.
from Seinfeld. Like, no matter what he said, the crowd's gonna laugh.
Absolutely.
He's just got that whatever the charisma about him that they're
Yeah.
just like, oh, that's the funny guy. Like he's about to say
Exactly.
something, and
Yeah.
the whole show is like set up, and then like Kramer comes in and boom, you're like that's the funny moment.
Yeah, and he slides in. That's even funnier.
Yeah. Yeah, that like as you said, like you know, I could definitely see where they didn't, you know, Seinfeld is Seinfeld, he's himself.
Right.
But I definitely could see where they basically built the show around the character. That's like, all right, Elaine, this is you. Like you are this type of person.
Right.
And Kramer, you are this type of person. And then they just kind of have to fill it in. They just have to
Right.
be that funny, and then you know they just do what they do, and that makes the show.
Yeah, and it's because like throughout every day you've run into a Kramer, you've run into a George, you've run into an Elaine. And so like those are what you take from like real life experiences. It's like when you run into that crazy person that just like shakes all the time and like slides all the way. It's like that's who's the funniest person, but not when you're in the situation with that person. You know what I mean? Like if you were walking down the street and Kramer just like slid up to you and is like, "What's going on?" Everyone freaked out. But it's like taking those real life examples of real experience.
Yeah. So something you were about to hint toward. Um, do you like to do real life scenarios that people can relate to, or do you do like more outlandish things that are like imagine if blah blah blah?
I do relatable things
Okay.
because I got my comedy start with improv comedy,
Mm.
and improv can be really funny with a line of dialogue, but it mostly is funny due to how relatable a situation can be.
Mm.
And because if you're doing a scene on stage and you have like, you're breaking up with your girlfriend and something funny happens, it's like everybody in the audience has had a breakup,
Yeah.
mostly, you know? So if you can make light of that and laugh somehow, like everybody's related to that. So they're just gonna be like, that's hilarious because I have felt that,
Mm.
you know? Like I just actually wrote a sketch. Can I swear in here?
Yeah, yeah, you're good.
Okay. So I wrote a sketch called The First Shit.
Mm.
And it's about the first time you have to take a shit with your new significant other. It's
Ah,
like one of the most
that's
scary things in the world at the
funny.
time, and like what's that voice in your head? Because like every dude has been in that situation where you just got home from like a full meal and you have not been at your house since 2 in the afternoon, and it is now 9 p.m. And you guys like open a bottle of wine, whatever, you're both hanging out, you cheers, and then you just like feel it in your stomach. You're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Please just be
Bubble
a fart.
guts.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So I read, so like that's based off experience I've had, and that's hilarious to almost every dude. It could be hilarious to girls too because they've had to deal with it as well.
Yeah,
It's something that everybody can relate to is having to poop in front of this new person you're seeing.
yeah. That's that's a very
It's
like.
more intimate than sex.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I think that like those like boundaries, like when you can find something that most people would be uncomfortable with, and then
Mhm.
like make that funny, like
Yeah.
oh my god. So Joe Rogan told this funny story one time on his podcast, and it was pretty bad, but it was hilarious. He was saying that like one of their friends, it was like you know his group of comedian friends, one of them had died, and they were at like some award show, and the
Mhm.
guy was up for an award, and he ended up not winning. And then somebody next to him who like knew the guy, they were all friends. He
Mhm.
was like, "Geez, what's this guy got to do? He died and he still didn't win." And I was like, "Oh my god!"
Jesus Christ.
But it's funny though. But
Yeah,
like, you know,
exactly.
most people would be like, "Man, he just made a death joke about this," but that's funny to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hilarious. The things that we like society has told us not to laugh at are the funniest things on the planet. It's
Exactly.
it's like dude, you're setting me up. Like you're putting me in these weird situations where society doesn't want me to laugh, but it is hilarious what is going on here.
Yeah.
Like, dude, give the award to the dead guy. He died. Come on.
Exactly. Yeah.
What are we
I mean,
doing?
I, I do think that, as you said, society, they're like, yeah, don't laugh at that. But that's the type, like, we love to do things we're not supposed to do.
Yeah,
So if when the kid in high school or whatever like does something that they're not supposed to do, that's what every kid's going to laugh at that.
absolutely. Absolutely. High school is one of the craziest times of life. And it's like you just get laughs for doing the dumbest things. Like things that don't even make sense. Like you could throw your backpack at a locker and kids will die laughing for no reason. Like all I did was take my backpack off and toss it across the hall. They're like, that's the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen. No, it's not, but you're so dumb and innocent that everything is hilarious because it's so stupid.
Yeah, I mean that's the epitome of like Instagram and TikTok now.
Yes, hands down.
And I applaud the younger people for doing that because they realize like, oh, people are going to find this entertaining, so I
Yeah,
just might as well do it.
right. Yeah, TikTok has blown up so much and it's crazy. Like I am on TikTok. I'm not trying to get like TikTok famous, but like, dude, how do some of these videos have 1 million likes? There's some dumb videos out here with 1 million likes.
Yeah,
I don't understand it. Like, dude, people are stealing jokes all the time. Like, as somebody who does comedy, like, just don't steal jokes. It's like if you didn't make it, it's not great, you
yeah.
know. But I get it. It's the whole TikToks thing. It's just like lip syncing and doing shit like that.
So about the whole like stealing jokes, like do you like how do you how do you I guess it's kind of like copywriting, like
Yeah,
you don't
I know.
really know like what's good.
I
Yeah.
know what you're trying to say. It's like finding the balance of like everybody's done a joke or had a take on some topic. How do you make yours different and how do you judge if somebody has just quote unquote stolen your joke?
Correct, yeah.
And the short answer is there isn't an answer.
Makes sense.
Like, but if I say a joke, like if I did that sketch about having to take a poop with your girlfriend,
Mhm.
that's one thing. I haven't seen anybody make a joke like that. But now, like if I see in like 3 weeks or so, like Joe Rogan talking about the first time he had to take a shit, it's not like I can go up to Joe Rogan and be like, "Hey, I did this a month and a half ago." He'd
You're
be like,
fraud.
who the fuck you? Who are you? Who are you? Why are you here?" And I
Yeah.
was so there's like obviously my jokes need a little more credit before like I can have them called as my jokes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But the stand-up scene in Chicago, like there are some people with like similar jokes, and I've witnessed instances where like someone will be like, "Yo, that joke's a little too close to mine. I would like if you just like cut that."
Oh
And
wow.
I'll be like listening, and I'm like, "Oh, wow, all right." So, and then like they'll come to an agreement on it. And it's like, dude, there's so many ways to take scenarios, but I get it. It's tough because like everybody has had a joke on any instance. Like,
Hmm.
So it's tough and just communicating with the person who has the joke and if you also have a similar joke, it's like just finding a common ground
Yeah. Do you find funny enough, do you find it hard for people to take you seriously? Like just like as a person?
all the time. Every every single day. Yeah. I think it's mostly in my head, but yes, hands down.
Yeah,
I
I could see like, if you tell people you're a comedian, then
Mhm.
in your head, you're probably like, yeah, they're from now on they're not going to take me seriously.
Yeah, I hate telling people I'm a comedian, so I tell them I'm a writer or a actor.
Mm,
I leave comedian out because I had introduced myself as a comedian when I was doing stand up too many times, and people are like, "Oh, you're a comedian? Tell me a joke."
yep.
Like that's not how it works. Like that's the worst thing. Like you're never gonna go up to an accountant and be like, "Oh, you're an accountant? Do my taxes." Like what? Fuck you, dude. Like this isn't
Give me some
like
numbers,
I
bro.
exactly add 15 by 47. Do it. Like no, we're not doing this, man. Like who are you?
Yeah.
Like, I just met you. I'm not telling you a joke. So I hated that question and I hate getting asked it. So I just don't tell people I'm a comedian until,
Mm,
I tell them that I'm in comedy, writing or acting. It just avoids that whole question.
mm. Do you plan on, I guess, just being low budget, I guess is the best word, or do you want to have like, be a part of like a big production company or like start your own? Like what are your plans for that?
The goal would be to have my own production company. That would be pretty sweet. Like with my podcast, I would like to have that as a studio and like use it as acting, writing, like just everything, not limited to just podcast production. Do it all. But for right now, it's just like creating a little YouTube channel, uploading my sketches there. Our podcast is already out on some platforms and stuff. So it's just doing everything by itself in a bunch of different ways and hoping that one day they meet up top in the middle.
Uh, are you a one man band? You've got other people?
No, so I got 3 other guys on this podcast with me.
Okay. And how'd you meet them? How do you all coordinate?
I grew up with one of them. I met I met one in high school and then met the other one in just friend groups and stuff. So I've known them all for more than 6, 7 years. So it's been a long time that we've known each other.
Hmm.
And, like every other group of guys, when you get drunk, it's either let's open a bar or let's start a podcast. And
Yeah.
so we did the second one.
Ah, okay.
And yeah, I mean, and it started off just as like nothing really. And then we had the brand change to call it Washed Up. And it kind of took off a little bit better from there.
Do you find that it makes it easier to do what you do because you have like, supporting people, you have some people doing it with you?
Hands down. Yeah. I love working with a team. I love writing by myself sometimes. I like brainstorming with people a lot of the time. I would say that I'm hefty on teamwork,
Mm,
especially because being washed up, so a washed up athlete, I'm huge on team. I love team camaraderie. I love chemistry. I love working together to solve a problem. The brainstorming sessions are great. I love those.
so when you, I guess, get into like, your big production company and stuff like that,
Mhm.
do you want to just still be like the focal point, like, or are you trying to do more like hands off type stuff? Like, I guess what would be your end goal, to do both, like still be the star comedian or to just be a writer?
I get you. So my goal at some point is to be an actor writer. So write on a TV show or a movie and then be in that TV show or movie.
Mm,
So that's the goal. And then like the production company, like if it all just happens to work out that way, that's perfect. Uh, but there are so many different routes that I need to pursue in order to keep moving forward. So like I'm always going to be constantly writing. I'm always going to be constantly going out to audition. I'm always going to be doing this podcast. So there are so many different ways that I have to try and use my time. And then trying to create a production company just really isn't at the top of that to do list right now.
yeah. I
It's just
mean,
like
but
hopefully down the road.
yeah, and just you doing stuff will develop into that. If you
Exactly. Yeah.
acquire people, you acquire equipment, and then you're like, oh,
Mhm.
I've got a production company. Like
Right.
it just comes
Exactly.
together after a time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think that being able to do these like different things, like the podcast and then doing your comedy like in different ways, do you think that helps put everything together?
Yes, I would say so. I think any way that you can be creative is going to help the other ways that you're creative, if
Mm,
that makes sense. You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like, I bet talking just anytime you talk to somebody new that you might feel the need to like, put put down a beat and start talking,
Yeah.
Anytime that you can get creative might spark another creative thing that you've been stuck on.
Mm,
Like maybe after this, I can open my computer to a sketch that I haven't opened up in 3 weeks and maybe I can finish it just because we've done something like this.
Yeah. 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 I think it's really good for creative people to do something different. So like I do a ton of stuff. Like I do photography and videography, and then
Yeah.
also, as I said, I make music. I've got my podcast. Like I do all these things. And
Right.
and the beauty about that to me is I never get bored with it. Like I actually took
Right.
a break with podcasts for a while just because I was working on photography and videography. And
Yeah.
then I lately have been getting back into the podcast, but like that break makes me be like, oh man, I missed doing podcasts. And then I just get so amped up about doing podcasts and I
Yeah.
can't wait to talk to a bunch of people.
Yeah. I relate with that so much. I think taking a step back and just waiting a little bit to look at something from a different perspective just opens up so many more opportunities. Gives you a
Absolutely.
chance to think of new ideas.
Is there something that you do that that helps you be more creative? I mean, is it any kind of like you might drink or you might smoke or you might just I need to be out. I need to be out with people because that gets my
Right.
mind creative. Like what helps you out?
Yeah. So I'm actually taking a break from drinking and smoking right now, but that was usually my like creative juice, I
Mhm.
guess you could say, was I would have a couple beers and the whole I forget which writer, it might have been Ernest Hemingway actually. He said write drunk, edit sober.
Mm.
So I did like to have like a couple, then write down some just nonsense for like an hour and then look at it again in the morning a little clearer, like I said. But it's all about just like turning off distractions for me. Like if I can just turn off my phone, turn off all the lights, close the blinds and shit, and I feel great in the dark because if I can convince myself it's nighttime, there's no other expectations of me. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah. So if I can just tell myself that the world is shut down for the night, I can be as free as I want to just write nonsense. And hopefully in the morning when I look at it again, I can turn it into something cohesive and relatable and obviously most importantly funny. So
Yeah.
if it's not funny, I can't really do anything with it.
What if somebody bothers you? Like, do you easily get like distracted if like somebody's like, "Yo, man, let's go out." Somebody needs you. Like,
Yeah.
does that mess you up?
I it's it doesn't. I would say that I have a pretty good control on like telling my friends to shut the fuck up. You know, like they're my boys. I can just tell them, "Yo, I'm good tonight. I'll hit you up tomorrow." You
Yeah.
know? Like if I'm really in the mood to write and I need to get something done, nothing gets me more creative than a deadline.
Mm,
Like if a videographer I'm working with is like, "Yo, let's film this sketch this weekend," and I'll be like, "I haven't finished it," and he goes, "Well, let's film it this weekend." I'm like, "You got it. I'll finish it by tomorrow." You know, like a deadline makes me just force myself to be creative. So
mm,
I've been trying to put myself in a spot of deadlines.
mm,
So like telling myself like, yo, start a script today, then finish it by this time next week, and then I'll wait until this time next week and do it in one night.
mm,
It's all about the procrastination, really forcing myself to like just get it done.
yeah. I,
And deadlines help with that.
I definitely think that kind of pressure like makes people perform better. Like they're like, oh, I have to do this because when you give people an option to do something, 9 times out of 10 they don't. It wasn't people are like electricity. They take the path of least resistance. Like
Absolutely.
they're definitely just trying to take the easiest route possible. So yeah, any kind of
Yeah.
pressure, people are like, nah.
Yeah, and that's the same. Like any creative aspect, like I'll be on the set of like short films or whatever, and people just come and ask for like producer credits. And it's like, dude, you don't do anything. Like, stop showing up if all you want is the credit. Like, there are so many people out here who are just like trying to fake it, you know?
Mm,
Like, I love creating shit and I genuinely love making people laugh. I think it's awesome. I think it's the coolest thing you can do is to force somebody to smile and crack up uncontrollably. I think that's the dopest thing in the world.
Yeah.
you know? So if you want to come to a set or a production and just like kind of skate by, like choose a different career, man. Like these are people who actually care about like creating good content for a good reason.
Do you ever get like writer's block?
All the fucking time, dude. It's crazy. Oh my God. Yeah. All the time. And those are the times where you're like, why am I a writer? Like
Ah,
nobody else experiences writer's block. I'm just an idiot. And then we come back to that self-deprecating humor. Everything's a circle, dude. Everything. And you just sit there and you're like, I have no lines of dialogue in here. I can't think of anything. And I'll just stare at my computer and be like, you worthless little kid. You idiot. And I'm talking to myself so negatively. And then I'm like, I should have just become an accountant like an asshole. There's so many things. Yeah.
so so when you realize, hey, I need to put out this much content, like I need to do that kind of stuff. Do you
Uh,
try to, I guess, like separate it up, or do you just like, up, I'm just gonna load everybody up with all this stuff and then sit back for a while and then load them up again, or do you try to spread it out?
I definitely don't try to spread it out.
Hmm.
Sometimes it just happens that it's spread out. If there goes a week where I can create and write like 4 sketches and I get actors who want to be in them and I get the videographer who's down to record, I'm not going to be putting them all out on the same day. Like I'm not going to wait till they're all done. Like I'll put it out as soon as it's, ready. Until I get in that repertoire of having so many sketches unreleased that I can then start like a week by week basis. Like, every Monday a new Pat Clifford video comes out. And then that YouTube following will be like, oh shit, a Monday video's coming out. Hope it's hilarious, like that.
Yeah. Uh, so what all platforms are you working on right now?
The podcast is on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Um,
No Facebook.
podcast. What?
No Facebook.
I mean, our podcast isn't on Facebook. I don't think Facebook is for racist aunts and uncles, terrible political takes, and fucking shit that I got no business wanting to look at. The Facebook world is so crazy, dude.
Mm,
Everybody has a voice and nobody gives a fuck about it. It's
yeah.
I Twitter, at least it's funny,
I think
Facebook, I feel like
the
go on.
crazy thing to me about Twitter is like Twitter made me realize how funny like the everyday human being can be. Because you'll see
Agreed.
like memes and just like people just saying stuff. Like people will just say something that happened in their day and it'll be like one of the funniest things. And I'm just like, that's great. Like this person isn't even a comedian. They just said
Right.
something really funny. And that just like
Right.
to me, like when I noticed that on Twitter, that made me open my eyes to like why some people are like, getting into comedy and like doing sketches and stuff like that. Is
Right.
because there are a lot of people who are funny, but that doesn't mean
Yeah.
they can do comedy, but they might be funny
Right. Exactly.
though.
Yeah, man. And that's another thing. It's like somebody who's like studied comedy and like, I don't know, quote unquote, trying to perfect the craft. And then you get some people on Twitter like blowing up for no reason or on TikTok for the million likes. And you're like, I'm actually like, I went to college for this. I did this. And now I was like, what the fuck am I doing? What did I do wrong here?
Yeah.
Like, am I not funny? Should I quit? Should I just throw everything away?
Yeah.
It's a career full of rejection and it's so great. It's the best.
Do you feel like as you said, like studying, like learning about comedy and so, or like
Mhm.
learning certain comics and like what they do? Do you feel like that's necessary?
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah, absolutely. Because you got to learn just every way that it's possible to deliver comedy,
yeah.
and then you got to try it. It's easier to figure out what you like by eliminating what you don't like.
Okay.
You can't look at one form of comedy and be like, that's it. That's the one I want to do. It's like you got to try all of them. Who knows? That might not be the one you're best at.
Yeah.
Like find out a new delivery, try out a new delivery. Like if you're writing a sketch and you're strictly doing satire, like try and do topical, or try and do like blue collar, blue funny, try and throw in a terrible joke and see if it works. Like write your worst joke. And like if you deliver it right, could be hilarious.
Yeah.
You know?
Do,
I don't know. I think it's just studying.
do you think that there's a certain kind of comedy that you just don't think should work? Not so much isn't work. Like you think like this should not work. Like if I did this, this should not work.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think,
Like if you did like some Gallagher type stuff.
dude, if I tried to write a period piece, that shit wouldn't work.
Mm.
Like I am fully in on the idea that we are taught history at way too young of an age. Because in high school and like grade school, I don't give a shit about what happened in England.
Yeah.
But now it'd be kind of cool to figure out,
Yeah.
like our history is what built the whole fucking world. So I think if I tried to write a period piece right now, like if I tried to write about the Renaissance,
Mm.
I would butcher that terribly.
Is it because of information or?
Yeah, I don't know anything about the Renaissance,
Yeah.
but like there are some very talented, like people who are very good at history writing and like making jokes about what's happened in history. And so that's up their alley, but mine is very relatable to like here and now.
You know what you would probably be great for is, have you ever seen Drunk History?
Yes.
You would probably be
Yes.
great for that because
I know.
because you don't really
It's
know the history.
Yeah, I know. Because the idea of, I always am fascinated by why they made a marathon 26.2 miles. And it's because that jerk ran 26.2 miles and whatever to tell people the British were coming, you know?
Is that why?
Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
not know that.
What a jerk. What a jerk. He had to run 26 miles. Why didn't you just like, figure out an easier way? Now we got to run marathons and stuff.
Well, you just taught me something. I had no idea.
Thank you, dude. That's like the one history fact that I know. That's why it's a marathon. It's the guy who told the British. I don't know. I don't look it up. It's they can tell you it better than I can. But that's I just dropped some knowledge for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think history is interesting to a point. Like, I love watching drunk history because, like, number one, like the people who are telling the stories are hilarious, especially when they're drunk. My favorite one is God, I don't remember who the chick was, but she was so drunk and she had had food, and like she's telling the story, and she said she was like saying, "Give me the cheesy bread I brought," and the guy was like, "What?" And they were showing the like the scene,
Yeah.
and then
Mhm.
they flip back to like the actual person telling the story. She's like, "The
Yeah.
cheesy bread I brought." She's just so drunk. She just literally wanted some cheesy bread that she had earlier.
Oh,
She
I
stopped
feel.
mid story and
Oh man, that's perfect.
but yeah, just people being able to like tell those stories, I think is hilarious because like whoever came up with that idea was
Yeah.
was golden because a lot of people don't know like the things that have happened in history. So to make
Right.
it interesting, might as well get a bunch
Yeah.
of like famous actors drunk and retell them.
Absolutely. I could tell terrible versions of history, no problem. Give me a couple drinks and I'll make.
That's exactly what they did. They were like, "Oh, you want me to tell a
Yeah.
story that I know nothing about drunk? Perfect, I'll do
Perfect. Man, that's what I do every time I go out.
it." So earlier I was asking like, do you ever do like stuff that's non-realistic? So do you have a story like, do you do most of your stories made up or stuff that's happened to you, or maybe a mixture? Maybe you might.
Yeah, it's definitely a combo of both.
Okay.
It's definitely a combo of both. Um, so I am in the process of writing a couple like pilot episodes to pitch, trying to write a show, to be a writer, you got to write. And I got one experience, like it's about going off to college for the first time. That's something that's relatable to me. A lot of people, like leaving the confines of your home, going to a different one, and all that stuff. So, like, honestly, the more I think about it, it's all things that people can relate to. Like at least the scenario.
Yeah.
The lines of dialogue probably you haven't heard before because I'm trying to make them outrageous.
Mm.
Uh, you know, because that's how you get a laugh sometimes.
Yeah.
Other times it's about being relatable, but it's all about setting a scene that people can be like, "Oh, I've been here." You
Mm.
know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think, just being able to do that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
like the creative aspect of taking something that people have been through and realizing, like, that self-awareness again, just understanding, like, what's going on, just like when you were talking about taking a poop for the first
Yeah.
time when you're with somebody, like that, just being aware of how nervous or how gut-wrenching that is, and then like,
It's the
that
scariest
is
feeling.
funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Because to the outside eye, it is hilarious.
Yeah.
Like but to you in the moment, you're like, I am terrified and embarrassed, and I want to get out of here. I need to go home.
Yeah.
I need to be home by myself. But then you like sit back and you relax, and like it's hilarious. We've all been there, and it's funny to see somebody else be in this situation.
Yeah. I remember my wife now, but when we were dating, we used to live in North Dakota, and
Oh wow.
yeah, we had planned a trip. It was like a weekend trip to Canada. And so, I mean, like going to, God, what city was that? Winnipeg was about 4 or 5 hours from where we were in North Dakota. But there was another city that was only like, maybe like 2 hours or something like that away. So we were going there for like the weekend. And, but before we left, she got sick. She was like throwing up in the bathroom. And like, she was just like using the bathroom. And I mean, I was in the living room, and then I was like, what is she doing? Like, she's taking a long time.
Yeah.
And I knocked on the door. I was like, you all right? And then she was like, not really. And then I opened the door. She's like been throwing up. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
We had probably been dating for maybe like a month.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was one of those things where it's like, now I have to learn how to take care of her, much
Exactly. Yeah. See that idea. Now we get to talk about the first time you guys go out drinking together. It's gonna see, and obviously I drink a little bit more. We can handle it. Yeah, yeah. See, creative talks lead to creative thoughts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And I believe, people just understanding like where other people are in their life. Like, if you make a joke about something and somebody else cannot relate to that, like even that gap in where y'all are in your lives, that in itself is funny. Because I mean, you might
Yeah.
be talking about the amount of sex partners you've had, and then
Right.
somebody might only have had one, and so they're like, "Oh, this is awkward." Like, yeah, like we don't have the same kind
Yeah,
of lifestyle.
exactly. Yeah. I know. Finding those differences and similarities between people and turning them into characters and just escalating them. Like
Yeah,
that same situation. One's got like 200 partners and one is a virgin. Like
yeah.
that's a hilarious station to have.
One thing that bothers me, it's kind of funny that I say that bothers me, but it does bother me, is we're talking about people being different, is when
Right.
like, a black comedian only makes
Mhm.
like black jokes. It's like,
Ah,
that's your only thing. Like, I also hate the idea that, something's like it makes sense though. If they say something's like a black movie,
mhm.
like Don't Be a Menace in South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. Have you ever seen that movie?
No, I haven't.
It super long title. That whole thing's the title.
Yeah,
But
that was the whole title.
but it's a black movie. But like, I know white people who love that movie, but it's majority black cast. I mean, that's why you call it black movies. Mainly
Okay.
black people in it.
Yeah.
But that it's a hilarious movie. But people just have different backgrounds. And even, something that black people might laugh at because we, have similar lifestyles that a white person
Right.
might not think is funny at all. And then vice versa.
Exactly.
A white person might think something's super funny and black people are like, yo, this ain't funny.
Yeah, exactly. Finding that like joke or that thing to reach as many people as you can.
Yeah.
Terrifyingly uncontrollable. I don't even know how to word it, dude. It's insane because there are so few things that the entire planet can relate to. But one is everybody poops, man. Everybody poops.
Um, so have you been doing stand up, right?
I haven't. I've done stand up. I am not currently writing stand up.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you like performing in front of people, like, what's the diversity in groups or whatever?
Yeah. Like the diversity of people who are performing on the show or the people in the crowd.
The crowd. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been in crowds I've been in crowds that are all black. I've been in crowds that are kids. I've been in crowd like there are so many different kinds of crowds that you have to be able to cater to.
Yeah.
And like there are some jokes that like just won't go that'll go over some people's heads. Or so like all about there are a lot of comedians who think like you got to read the room, see who's in the room and know what jokes will land. And
Yeah.
there's other comedians who are like, fuck it, I got my jokes and I'm going to tell my jokes.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong answer. Just
Yeah.
is what it is.
Yeah. I would definitely be the type of person where like I would have to know who's my audience before I like got stuff prepared because
Yeah.
I feel like, you can do a better job that way. Like,
Yeah.
for sure, if you've got kids, then for sure, like, oh, these jokes are going to hit them. Or and these jokes, like, if I make a joke about taxes, they're not going to, they're not going to like
Yeah. Should I start off hot with a dick joke or not?
that. Telling a bunch of mom jokes. Like, oh, yeah, I was banging
Yeah,
this kid's mom earlier.
exactly. Yeah. You loser. Yeah. Just talking to, why are you here? Yeah.
uh,
So,
do you plan on doing, gosh, what was I going to ask? Like, I guess just like specific movies, or do you want to do like all kinds of stuff? Because I'll notice like some people who are like Kevin Hart, he did some like really serious movie. It was like his daughter had, I don't know if it was like cancer or something was wrong with her, but he's
oh, I
known for being a
saw the
comedian now.
trailer. Yeah. I saw the trailer for that. Um, I've thought about that a lot. Um, and as a starving artist currently, you tell yourself anything to just get work. You
Yeah,
know, I'll like so when I have an acting class, I don't strictly tell them I want to be a comedy actor, and I definitely don't strictly tell them that I want to be a drama actor.
mm,
It is just teaching and training yourself to be an actor rather than putting a genre limit on yourself.
yeah,
And like not a lot of the world knows who I am. So the people who know me have a trouble time taking me seriously.
yeah.
But people who don't know me, they can look at me as a drama actor, no problem. You know?
That's true. Yeah, I think another person I saw was like Dane Cook. I think he had like a serious role in something. I was like, it's so weird. I'm used to seeing him
That's hilarious.
be funny.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, I do applaud people who can do that though. Like even The Rock, he'll take different roles and doing different stuff, and some people are great actors. That's just what they do. They
Yeah.
can play a character no matter what the character is. They just do it. So I
Right.
definitely applaud them for being aware of their skills and
Yeah.
um, even Will Smith. He's another person that's done many different characters. He
Will
played,
Smith's the man. It's impossible not to like that guy.
yeah. And one thing I think is so funny, comparing like being a rapper to being an actor, is like
Hmm.
so if you see a rapper that's like super gangster or whatever, I think it's funny
Hmm.
because like if you take somebody like Will Smith, like you don't think of him as some like cold-blooded killer just because he was in God, what's the movie?
Right.
He was the gosh, I can't think of the name of that movie where he was like the last person on Earth.
I Am Legend.
I Am Legend. All right, so yeah, he's not some like you know survival
Right.
specialist or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's not
Yeah.
a superhero like the other movie that he was like a superhero in. So it's like,
Hancock.
yeah, Hancock. Your movie recollection is amazing.
I'm killing it, man. I gotta be, you know.
But yeah, like people, I think society likes to label people, and as you were saying, like if somebody doesn't know you, then they'll just take you for how they're getting you. But
Exactly.
if somebody knows you, they're like, this is kind of odd. Like,
Yeah, I already have a vision of this guy in my head. Like if I eventually blow up and I'm on some late night TV show, all the people I've met in my hometown are gonna be like, this fucking guy can't be a dramatic actor. And
yeah,
then I'm on the show because of a dramatic movie I'm in. You know, there's so many different ways that people can perceive you. And I don't really care which way people perceive me as long as I can work in the field that I love working in.
yeah. So you don't have like a certain stigma that you want people to view you as. You're just like, yeah, take me as you get me.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't want to limit myself. I would love, like I said earlier, I can people laugh. So if that just happens to be my typecast, if it gets that way, that's fine with me. But also, like, if you need me to be dramatic, I just like creating, you know, like I love creating good things. My main goal is to make people laugh. But if that's not in the script, that's totally fine with me as well.
Absolutely. So I also wanted to get into your podcast. So it's called Washed Up, and it's
Yep.
basically about you being a washed up athlete, correct?
Correct.
So
Yes.
what did you used to do?
I was a baseball, basketball, and flag football. My parents didn't let me play tackle growing up.
That was like an actual like the flag. I won't say actual
Yeah.
sport, but like
No,
yeah,
yeah,
like
you
an
can say
actual league.
yeah.
Yeah.
In high school, there was like a lot of schools had a flag football team. It was crazy.
That's really cool. I mean, I didn't have that. I'm from Alabama, and like, there's not a lot of number one. The number of people in Alabama is nothing compared to like other states. But then
Right.
also organization. Like I think, well, I graduated with like 100 people, I think, and
From
then
your high school?
yeah,
Damn.
exactly. And then I think I want to say it was my sophomore or junior year or something like that. Is when we got a soccer team.
Damn.
Yeah. So to say that you had a flag football, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Our school was huge. Pretty. What did we have? I think there was. I always get the number mixed up, but there was like 900 people in each grade.
Oh wow, that's a lot.
Maybe like 800. Who knows? I
So,
don't know.
um, did you go to college like to play sports?
Yeah, so I went to Marquette University for a year and 2 months.
Okay.
I was politely asked to leave. But I played club baseball while I was there. And so I was planning on transferring to a D3 school
Mhm.
to keep playing baseball. But my last game at Marquette, I ended up tearing my rotator cuff
Oh
in my
man.
in my throwing shoulder. So there went the dream of playing ball as long as I could.
So when you tore it, like, did you think, oh, I'll just get some surgery and I'll be good as new?
Uh, when I tore it, I was in the middle of transitioning from leaving school.
Mm.
So my shoulder wasn't my highest priority. My
Ah,
mental health was.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I mean? I was trying to figure out, like, I was leaving Marquette. I didn't really know. I thought like everybody just went to college, got a degree, and got a 9 to 5, you
mhm,
know? So leaving Marquette, it was kind of like, oh shit, I'm already behind.
yeah.
And the torn rotator cuff was just the icing on the cake.
Dang, dude. Yeah, I mean, I played football in high school, and I thought about doing it in college. Like I had some schools that were looking at me, but I was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna focus
Mhm.
on college. I'm not even gonna worry about sports." But there's not a day that goes
Right.
by that I probably don't think about football.
Right. Dude, same. Same with me in baseball.
Is there like a I guess a theme specifically with washed up? Like I know you're like washed up athletes, but is it like
Mm.
we talk about baseball or we talk about football? Like,
Nope. It's as broad of sports as we cover NBA, MLB, NFL. We don't really not any of us really know much about hockey, but we fake it enough to talk about it.
mm,
But we also talk about just like what's going on in the world. It's just about like that point of view from somebody who like is the washed up athlete who woke up at 5 a.m. every morning to go to weights and like did all this crazy stuff, and then you quit or you get told that you can no longer play, and it's like I have all this competitive energy, and maybe I'm starting to get a little fat because I'm not doing anything anymore.
yeah,
It's all about like how do we be members of society, like we were competitive freaks over a child's game. Like we're throwing and hitting a ball.
yeah.
And we got so competitive and we loved it and we had the camaraderie of teams and stuff. It's like, what do we do now? So we're just like talking, working it out. It's fun.
And I really love that about about your podcast is because I think there's recently been a big push for the mental health of athletes when they get done with their sports because you'll see all these athletes and it's like you think of it as like the was it like the bin of toys from Andy and Toy Story. It's like
Yeah.
once you're done with them, they just disappear. They just don't exist.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
it's like, no, these guys are still humans. Like when they
Mhm.
get done with sports, they still, there's been reports of like some athletes like selling cars and stuff like that. Like they still
Yeah.
have to get a job. They still have to feed their family somehow. Like,
Right. Right. Not everybody is the star athlete with still millions and millions of dollars.
yeah,
And so, like, the definition of washed up is no longer useful or successful.
mm,
And so, the reason we named our podcast and our brand Washed Up is because we want to change that narrative. You
mm,
know, being washed up is just like it is what it is at this point, but we're not useless. We are looking for our next use.
mm,
Like, what do you want to do next? I wanted to be an MLB player until my rotator cuff got torn
yeah,
you know. But if it wasn't for my rotator cuff, my ankles, my lack of talent, my just complete undesire to work harder than everybody, who knows? Maybe I would have.
yeah.
But you can only skate so far on talent alone. But now, after I can't play baseball anymore, I love entertainment. I love doing that. So I'm a washed up athlete, but I'm not done.
Are you having guests on, or are you just your group just talk?
Yeah, we have guests on.
What what kind of guests do you have on? Is it specifically athletes, or you just have other people who?
Oh, you can come on the podcast, of course.
Cool.
We got no, yeah, yeah. Podcast for podcast. You come on ours, I'll come on here. Yeah. There's no prerequisite, I should say, for coming out of the podcast.
Okay.
We've had football players who quit after high school. We've had football players who play overseas currently. We've had a professional water polo player. Like there's just, and then we've had like a comedian. Like there's no. It's just about you can be washed up in one asset of your life, but thriving in another.
Mm,
Like I'm a washed up baseball player, but I'd like to think that I'm a pretty good comedian or writer.
yeah. Yeah, I think that that whole idea is I think not only just a good concept, but it's just good for people. Like people need to know that there are other people out there who went through the things that they're currently going through and that
Yeah.
not only are they talking about it, but they're able to like talk about it openly to other people and like it's crazy. Like you're talking about it without actually talking about it. You know what I mean? Like it's not like an
Yeah.
intervention. You're just like
No.
you're just
Yeah.
the realization. Like yeah, we're washed up. Yeah, but cool. Yeah, we're past that now. We're
Yeah.
we're doing things.
Yeah. It's not a bad thing to be washed up anymore. It just kind of is its course, just
Yeah,
running the course. You can't play your sport for an eternity. When you're playing, it does feel like an eternity that you've been playing, but like everybody's career ends.
absolutely.
Just about figuring out what you want to do next.
Yeah, for sure. um, all right. Well, hey, it's been great having you on, Pat.
Yeah. Thank you, Jackson.
Is there anything that we left out?
No, nothing, man. This was a great talk. I'm glad we got to make this work.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. Give everybody your everything, your YouTube's, links, whatever.
All right. Well, it's pretty easy because we have a website and all those links are on it. You can find us at www.washedupinc.com. Pretty simple. All of our Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Spotify, Apple Podcast, all those links are on there. www.washedupinc.com.
And that has all your comedy on it as well.
Yeah, that's our podcast. I have a different portfolio that I'm currently working on, so no need to promote that right now.
Oh, okay. Cool, cool, cool.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you're working on that you can give some deets to the people?
Yeah, so I'm working on a couple sketches right now. One to go off of the first shit, and then another about dads gambling at little league games.
Oh my
So,
god, that's funny.
yeah,
I,
so that's the
I know that's funny because I don't know if you heard this story, but I think it was somewhere. It might have been like Orlando. No, it was. I think it was Miami. There was like I don't know if you know this, but Pop Warner football is huge in Florida. Like I think the
yeah.
World Championship is in Orlando, but the there was like a huge scandal that came out in I think it was one I think it was in like Miami that there were parents or I think it was just dads gambling on the Pop Warner teams and I'm not just gambling. I'm talking like hundreds of thousands of dollars were being
Oh, I
gambled
believe
on
it.
Pop Warner football games. I was like, oh my god,
Fuck yeah, that is awesome.
yeah, you have
That
to
is
look that up
hilarious.
because
Yeah, I will definitely.
it was blowing my mind. I was like, it's a Pop Warner game.
Yeah, seriously, dude. I'm very excited to make this sketch. I've wanted to, and I've thought about it for a while. So hopefully, it makes people laugh. That's the whole goal.
It's a really funny concept.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, all right. Again, thank you, Pat, for coming on, and thank you for everybody tuning in. And we'll see you next time.